All right. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis show. And so the question I was really asking you to begin your next set of, responses, Minister Kwating, was the DVLA is... Sorry, the GRA is what you're going to depend on to be able to bring in the money. The DVLA, because I'm getting questions asking when you are going to abolish the luxury tax. So that's an ineffective revenue collection, entity, and you need the money. Few people are paying taxes. This is our culture generally. So what is it that you are going to do to change the paradigm? Because you need the money.
Will you not allow me? Because the DKM is an important matter.
Right.
First, it's important to remember that before this administration came, some monies have been paid to some of the DKM victims. And so...
Because official liquidator had stepped in.
Yes.
And there was supposed to be money, which is not from the state, to those who were to be paid, correct?
No, a provision had been made by the Bank of Ghana upon government commitment in 2016 to get these payments to happen, and that government will reimburse the Bank of Ghana. So that commitment had been made.
These were not as in the DKM's own reserve that they were supposed to keep at the Bank of Ghana.
This was
as part of their requirement.
This was money by central government to pay DKM victims.
I see. That's not my understanding.
Yeah, that's all the facts are. But I'm not even. That's not to shy away from that, because as a government, we also made a decision to continue. We need to keep DKM, put DKM and the liquidated banks together. It is not going to be government strategy to always come in and use public funds to bail out depositors who may have been defrauded by Ponzi schemers. No, it is never going to be government policy. What is happening now is an exercise to clean the banking sector. That's how it ought to be seen.
Okay.
Once this has been driven to the end, we get to normal times, the responsibility will still be on investors to be sure that they are investing at the right places. And if you fall into this kind of situation, government is not going to take taxpayers' money to bail you out. That won't happen. But the point to which we got required that government with the central bank had to intervene and clean up the system once and for all. And that is what is being done. I'm confident it would eventually lead to a financial services sector that is credible and stable, that is reliable, and that can finance the kind of economic agenda we want. So it won't be long term. And that's my assurance to Mr. Lawyer is on command that this is not a government policy.
He's not alone in this anyway.
Yes, all those who feel that way, that this is never government policy. And even now, there are people close to government who are very uncomfortable at the fact that we have to even to borrow all these monies to plus something, if I can add. The president had said, and we feel committed to it, that not just the DKM Ponzi schemers, the Bank of Ghana with the Attorney General are doing quite some work on it. You're not working together, but I know the Attorney General has a committee working on it. The Bank of Ghana is doing its own investigation. These people would not get away with this. But, the nature of these crimes are such that you really need to put your file together and be sure that when you go, you won't slip. And so, in due course, I'm sure the Bank of Ghana would come out with what has been found and how they're going to recover some of the
DKM situation. How many years now?
As I said, it's part of the DKM one has been treated as part of the general cleanup.
But the question is that in that situation, nobody has been held responsible as we speak. Yes. Upwards of 4 years.
I share the same worry that the prosecution of these persons will be delaying. But I'm communicating to you, and the president has already said that.
Okay.
That it is not the view of government that these guys should be allowed to go scot-free.
Okay.
We just have to find what it takes to prosecute them. That will be done. And I'm happy people continue to put pressure on government that just don't allow these guys to go scot-free. I don't want them to go scot-free either. And now on the revenue issues. on the revenue issues. If you look into the budget, 2019 budgets, several measures have been indicated. The minister has indicated very clearly that GRA itself needs reform. It's an institution that was put together some 10 years ago from the revenue agencies we had then, VAT, IRS, and then SEPS. And now we've had them for 10 years. There are legacy issues from their daughter institutions, and there's a need now to take a look at GRA and to see what part of GRA's operation can we really improve. And the kind of measures the minister spoke about would go on so that in the end we have the organ itself would be strong. And let me take this opportunity to communicate this. You know, people have an attitude of viewing GRA in a certain way. Foreigners who in their own countries would run when they hear the tax authority's voice. They come here and they're always trying to fight GRA, coming to politicians and asking politicians to restrain GRA from doing their work. Yeah. Please stop. You're going forward. We will not take this. And we want, as part of the reform, we're working on the image of GRA. We want the GRA to be an authority that speaks or that acts, and people would wake up and respond. So just to put that across. Two, you just indicated the property rate. You look at Accra alone, the property we have here. If you would go around and collect the right property rates, that alone will bring us considerable resources. In the past, we have hoped that local governments would be able to do this, so we'll be able to do what we call alignment, that central government expenditures, you align it to the local government people. We are realizing that they lack the capacity to do so. That is why you see those interventions in the 2019 budget that will support them to do that.
Right.
Plus, finally, and this one is for the tax-paying public. You know, there are people who do all kinds of criminal things. I speak as respectfully as I can. And they evade tax, they under-declare sales, they do all kinds of things. And when they are found out, we treat them as tax liabilities. You should have paid 10 cedis. You misinformed the tax authority, you misled the tax authority, you declare less. So now that we have found you out, go and pay the difference. Going forward, and especially those who are putting things in warehouses, they are ex-warehousing without paying the taxes, they are conniving with revenue officers and doing all kinds of things. Now we will treat these as crimes. Okay. So we'll begin to prosecute these, and I hope that we'll be able to set a new culture where we would know that tax is not something you try to dodge. Yeah. It's not going to work.
I only hope that you will be measured. You'll be measured and tempered in the manner you go about being categorical and promising about prosecutions, because we know what you did in opposition to come to power. The prosecutions you promised, some of them were just political talk, and that's why the Attorney General will not be able to mount prosecutions against them. The Office of the Attorney General is a technical professional office. They will not be able to do a political game with a prosecution. It's a difficult thing, although they have started some of the major prosecutions going on. You look at some of the charge sheets that they have, a marked improvement from previously what we have seen prosecutions go on. So they are doing a great job. But when you keep promising where you are not sure that you can find ingredients to prosecute where there is actually no crime, you put an unnecessary pressure on that office. So,
but Samson, I think it's important. I point out to you that it's important. I point out to you that where we have gotten to, we indeed have no choice. We don't have a choice. Look, if we continue along this path and continue to have revenues underperform, a time is going to come when the citizens will just rise because they have a lot of expectation of politicians. Right. And yet, we are unable to mobilize resources from the same population to respond to the needs of the people. And so we have no choice. If it's not done today, trust me, it will be done along the line.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Charles Rekurobe was saying that he thought that we're going to hear amplification of specific measures that will translate the macroeconomic gains into people's gains. This is the third budget of a four-year term, government. And it doesn't look like he's getting any hope. My question to you, Mr. Setekpe, is what about this budget excites you? you cannot say everything you see in that budget is hopeless.
No, of course, I don't think I've said that.
Okay.
And, yes, and I think, you know, first of all, as Prof said, and to, I pointed to debt management. As far as I know, the structures in the PRMA, there have been attempts to go at them, but they are intact.
Okay.
And they are, yes, you know, because one of the problems we have had is sustaining policies. And so if we have a sinking fund and we say that when we borrow, we must pay, and let's take part of our oil revenue so that we are not accused like, you know, other countries, I don't want to be specific, of using all our oil revenue for, then let the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund get its money. Let it invest in projects like Airport Terminal 3 that can pay back. Let's have a stabilization fund so that when we are hit by shocks, we don't run to the IMF. We have our own buffer, you know, to support that substantive. The stabilization fund is intact. So I'm saying that one, the PRMA mechanisms that have been put in place, if we protect them, you know, for the first time we had, it was something little, but we had money put into the contingency fund since 1992 Constitution. When the Kwame Nkrumah, you know, disaster came, the flooding and the fire, we tap into it, you know, to relieve some of. So one, let me say that, you know, those things are, you know, are there. Secondly, if you take the issue which you just pointed out, RAGB actually is 20 years, 1998, right? Now, we started, and there are reforms. We, in 2009, which is a 10-year mark, we converted it to Ghana Revenue Authority to make it authoritative, because RAGB didn't have, the executive secretary didn't have executive authority. So we followed the path of countries to create the GRA, to give the Commissioner General that executive authority, that technical authority which, you know, the Honorable Minister is talking about, you know, so that there will be non-political interference, and the Commissioner General will be the last word on technical matters. If you disagree, you go to court.
Okay.
And then he has given lawyers, AG can support, you know, in fighting the case as a public institution. Secondly, the VAT service and the Internal Revenue Service, if you recall, were merged into the domestic tax. The rationale, again, quick one, is because we were duplicating tax compliance, the very compliance we're talking about. You had a tax auditor, you know, income tax auditor going to look at invoices. The invoices that income tax auditor is inspecting is the same VAT invoices that were issued by the VAT, sorry, the same requirements of the, you know. So by merging them, you are improving compliance. And then we supported it with IT, you know, a comprehensive IT system. Well, it's not working as good as it should. Now, the third reform was to respond to the taxpayer by creating small, medium, and large taxpayer offices that will respond to the complex cases, you know, and those who have influence who normally come to the politician. Sometimes it's about capacity. So the large taxpayer unit was supposed to have that capacity to deal with those large taxpayers so that it can be. So I'm saying that it's about the sustainability. Yes, the budget is silent on many of these reforms. We propose a revenue modernization phase 2, but I'm not aware of the fact that, you know, the MPP administration that followed has said that we are going back to recreate, you know, internal revenue.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So my point is that that's the second positive point. Those reforms are there, right? So what we need are secondary reforms, you know, to now make the tax offices work and to equip them to do the compliance.
Okay.
So those are positive.
Thank you. So is this your reality when the minister says so? He says we have implemented a number of flagship policies as well as social intervention policies that have reduced the suffering. He admits there has been some suffering. There's been reduced. Yes,
fact,
the
if you
suffering
look
has
at
been
the
reduced.
opening pages of the budget, there's an honest admission that things, and we are not there yet. There is also an admission that some progress has been made.
So it is your reality.
Yes,
I'm asking.
I
now I'm testing the budget against your reality.
Yes. So you see, when given what the economy has gone through, and here I don't want to do politics in terms of The gains that were made in the first year of the IMF implementation were almost reversed during the election year. That's what the record suggests.
Okay.
Starting off from there, and also if you look at 2017, it was a fiscal consolidation. You know, the true implication of that, it comes with cost. And oftentimes the costs are not evenly distributed. So you can see 2017, 2018, the focus has been to restore macroeconomic stability.
Right.
It takes time for the macro level gains to translate to micro. But in addition to that, you tend to see the government coming out with direct interventions that puts money directly in the pocket of Ghanaians.
Okay.
So if you talk about electricity that was reduced,
right.
and then if you talk about free senior high school, these are savings that are in people's pockets and all of NAPCO
right.
and all of
Maslock,
that.
the investment that have gone
yes,
in
and all of that. So you can see these other direct interventions.
Okay.
And don't forget that that itself is a cost at the macro level to the government. But that is going to individuals and all of that.
So Dr. Said,
I don't think it will be...
You to tell me, what is it about this... what is it about this budget that makes you smile and have faith that the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda is a realistic one and not a phantom, it's not a rhetoric?
It's a very difficult answer. I don't want to be always negative. I've said 2017, 2018, they are sticking to the fiscal consolidation plan, and if revenue is not coming in, they cut down expenditure. It's a positive thing, and I urge them to continue. But I think I want to make a small statement about the GRA thing they were talking about. Very quick statement. You know, GRA, of course, needs to be improved. There's revenue leakages, and there are also non-collection and others. But at times, it is not GRA alone. The government also has a very big role to play in revenue collection. Tax policies, revenue policies are themselves attempted to blame. You see, there are so many exemptions. In 2017, I was so happy for the government to announce that the exemptions regime was going to be tackled. And for that matter, they projected reducing exemption from 2.3 billion in 2016 to 1 billion in 2017 to improve revenue collection. That's what you said.
We would make a savings of 1 billion.
1 billion. Right. But it ended up even going up. Exemptions increased from 2.3 billion to 2.5 billion. So the government component of revenue generation needs also to be tackled. Look at the mining sector, the free trade zone, all these things are there. We cannot put all the blame on GRA. So please, the government, come out and try to close these loopholes. We can't blame GRA alone.
Have you looked at our exemptions reform commitments in the 2019 budget?
So,
we would need all of you to help us. Well, Samson, this is important. Look, the exemptions is a problem. Everybody knows it is a problem. Alongside reforming revenue mobilization, I think we're also going to work on the exemptions. The minister did indicate that a policy draft is ready to be placed before cabinet and parliament. That would cancel many of the exemptions that we have. So we're looking at that.
If you couldn't make it 2017,
beyond
make it 2019.
There is a subheading of the budget where you had it protecting the public purse. And there's been so much expectation of this government, particularly because of what you did in opposition coming in. And the clear and emphatic expressions that you were going to be able to cut corruption and make a lot of savings to use and to support, the system and to make people's sufferings a little more less. Apart from speaking about 180 million dedicated to the public special prosecutor, what else ought to have received attention about what you are doing to fight corruption? And when I talk about corruption, guess what? I have the privilege to say that I think I have enough experience and have encountered enough to know that the duopoly, you are paying lip service to fighting corruption because it overwhelms you that you are unable to really fight corruption.
Well, the fight against corruption is a tough one. I don't deny that. Government would continue to do what it can. I think it's the responsibility of everybody, the media, everybody included, that we fight and win against corruption. 180 million to the special prosecutor. It's not a small allocation.
Yeah, it is.
And if you look at our relationship with the Auditor General, in the past, the ministry or the Minister for Finance, it has not been the trend that they are very comfortable with the Auditor General. And we have had periods of
as an accountant, I object to this.
But we can say, and I've heard the Auditor General say it many times, that in the Ministry of Finance, we see the Auditor General as an ally. Because we are sitting there, all kinds of pressures are coming on us, and it hurts so much when you make these allocations and you see the way the monies are used across government. So if we have an Auditor General that says, I will help correct this wastage, we are happy to work with the Auditor General. So you would see that the allocation to the Auditor General has also gone up considerably. I think the fight against corruption would be the one along those lines, but also within government itself, the wastage. The minister just announced that people sit on boards and they collect monthly fees.
Yeah.
And on some boards, that monthly fee was much higher than the salaries of many senior.
Yeah. So you are receiving a lot of thumbs up from groups like Occupy Ghana for taking those bold steps.
We have cancelled the monthly board fees, whatever you call it. We have rationalized the sitting allowance.
Okay.
We've rationalized that. We will continue.
Salaries of the CEOs.
Yes, that is also an exercise that is ongoing.
Yeah.
The technical work being done.
Okay.
And we'll continue to do these things.
I need to make this announcement that those planning to go to the Women AFCON, tickets are not sold at the gates. They are sold at ADB in Osu, CD House, and Makola branches. So if you want to go to the AFCON, Women's AFCON that is ongoing here in Ghana, what you have to do is to go to ADB, Osu, CD House, and Makola branches. Don't go to the gate. You won't get tickets to buy there. I think we are done. Our time is up. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all so very much. The Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, the former Minister, Seth Tekpe, who is here, found time to be with us to help break down the issues for the better understanding of the people. I'm sure he's moving away straight to, is it the Trade Fair Center? Great, right. For the NDC's executive elections that are going on there. The Deputy Minister, Kweku Kwating, is MP for Obuasi. Kokwa or General Mosquito. MP for Obuasi West, and Deputy Minister of Finance, Professor Godfred Bokwing is economist, University of Ghana Business School, and Dr. Said Boache is Senior Research Fellow, Institute of Fiscal Studies, IFS. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. My outfit, as always, is by Latida. Have a good afternoon.